Good afternoon. Welcome to Camden Airfield and the beautiful Caribbean island of Trinidad. Are we ready to fly? We are ready to fly. This looks a bit precarious. Where am I? Alright, well, first things first. Let's engage the brakes here. I didn't realize that I was going to be facing the wall, so to speak. But I am. So let's get a pushback. So what are we doing today? First of all, we're gonna try to get out of this situation we're in. I actually got in touch with Microsoft Flight Simulator early on in the development and told them that it would be great if they turned the airplanes around. And I meant literally turn the airplanes around, because nobody parks nose in. Nobody parks nose in. And the reason you don't park an airplane nose in should be obvious. I mean, because if you do, you can't start it, and I mean, you can't start it and back out, right? So, let's get our weather while we're doing this. Let's see, 1012 on the old altimeter device there. There we go. And I think this should suffice for a pushback. Let's engage the brakes. Let's turn the fuel on. Rotating beacon on. That mixture is rich. Carb heat is cold. Master and battery switches on. There is no fuel pump. Let's crack the throttle. Take a look around. Make sure there's nobody in the way of the propeller. And engage the starter. Engine turns over. Magneto's back to both. Oil pressure is coming up. Let's get the throttle back to about 1200. Lean the mixture for taxi. And I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for aviating. We're ready to do some aviating today. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to do a couple interesting things. Let's turn some more lights on. Having strobe lights on. Let's turn our taxi lights on. Let's get 122.8 on the radio. I don't think we have anybody with us on ATC. Boop boo. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It's only giving me one. That's a little weird. I've never had that happen before. Let's go transponder squawk altitude. Is this another one of my brain problems? I might have a brain problem. This might be a brain issue. 122.8. Oh, okay. It was a brain issue. I had a brain problem. It happens. Alright, transponder squawk altitude. Alright. Let's get moving. Let's test our brakes. You always test your brakes as soon as you get moving. Camden Airfield, Cessna 4753 X-ray, taxiing to runway 11, Camden. Alright, so what are we doing today? Today, so I've been doing a couple flights looking for lost Caribbean airports. Like there was one in Puerto Rico. There was one in I did the island just north of Anguilla, which the name of which escapes me right this second. I did Grenada. I think we did Dominica, perhaps. Can't remember them all, but anyway, it was kind of fun, or it's been kind of fun. And so what we're doing today is sort of along those same lines, although not exactly. Alright, no traffic. I don't see anybody coming in on final. Let's turn the taxi light off, landing light on. Mixture is rich, carb heat is cold. Takeoff power coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. I am embarrassingly off center line. And off we go. For some reason you have to keep left rudder in Microsoft Flight Simulator on takeoff, which does, or at least on the runway, which of course doesn't make any sense. You should have to put right rudder. But anyway, what we're doing today is we're gonna go check out one of the things that I learned in my search for lost Caribbean airports is that there are a lot of former World War II air bases in the Caribbean, which is kind of interesting. You wouldn't necessarily think that would be the case. Because why, you don't really think of South America as World War II, although I have since come to learn that the World War II connection to this area has to do with shipping. So I guess the Nazis were trying to take out Allied shipping that was going through the Caribbean to South America, I guess around South America and into the Pacific theater in World War II. And so the Germans, the Nazis, being the people that they were, decided that they would send U-boats over here and try and destroy the shipping, right? And so there were U.S. air bases around here, Allied air bases around here that were on sub-patrol. They had airplanes on sub-patrol. Kind of interesting stuff. That is definitely the short version. And coming up over here, somebody on flightsim.to, where you can go and get these sceneries for free, redid Carlson Air Force Base. Of course, at that time, it was the Army Air Base. Because there was no U.S. Air Force, it was the Army Air Corps. And you can see down there the tents. See the strip, and I guess there were two landing strips. Edinburgh and Xerez. I don't know which one is which. You can see they're connected here. And this is the other. The second of the two strips here. And So these were originally these two strips, which I don't know if there's any remnants of them left at all, were overflow facilities for, and I don't know if this is supposed to be part of the scenery or not. The added scenery, that's kind of cool. Overflow facilities for Waller Air Force Base, which is further north here. So we are going to continue our adventure here. And so it was basically the availability of this scenery that got me interested in. I'm gonna climb here a little bit. I don't like being this low. The availability of this scenery, that scenery that we just saw, that interested me in looking at the World War II history of Trinidad. And there's actually something yet more interesting. Two things that are more interesting that are coming up on this very flight. And we'll see them as we go along. Over there they're actually right there, is Piarco International Airport. There's an Ameriflight flight coming in. Ameriflight is a cargo operation. There's 1,500 feet. We'll bring the power back to 2,400. And I've always thought Trinidad was really cool. I mean, first of all, the approaches are great into Piarco. Approaches into Piarco are really cool. They come down over those mountains there on the end of the island, on the west end of the island, and just kind of neat approaches. But the other thing is, I just always thought the scenery is really beautiful. When you're departing, I guess it's probably you probably get a little better view of it when you're really high. Like if you're departing in the CRJ, you can really see like all the farmland and really just beautiful. And so I've always kind of liked Trinidad. I've flown to here and I've flown from here in the CRJ. I've done it in the TBM a couple times. I believe we just got clouded in. That was kind of weird. Well, first thing we want to do is put on our pitot heat. Make sure our pitot tube does not get iced over. Reduce power a little bit and descend. See if maybe we didn't just get into some phantom layer here that's going to disappear. But the a rainbow in front of us. The other thing that's kind of interesting about what we're going to see next, if we do see it, is what we're coming up on is Waller Air Force Base. Waller Air Force Base is no longer, but it is also, I'm going to put on the carb heat here and come down a little bit. Waller Air Force Base was the main Air Force base on Trinidad in World War II. I think it was established in 1941, but I feel like a tour guide. The interesting thing is, or one of the interesting things is that it was not, this is not included in any add-on scenery. So if we find it, or traces of it, it will be a genuine, oh, look at that, we're in the rain, I do believe. If we find traces of it, it will be because it is on Bing Maps. So, if I were in a real airplane right now, I wouldn't be particularly happy about where I was. I'm instrument rated. This airplane is certified for instrument flight, but it's still not really ideal. To be kind of VFR in these this reduced visibility. Just kind of hunting around. So we'll see. But the other interesting thing about Waller Air Force Base is U.S. President Harry S. Truman stopped at Waller Air Force Base in 1948 as he was going to Brazil. Which I think is kind of neat. And what I'm going to do now, I do believe there is Waller Air Force Base. I knew it was there. I was trying to make it a little dramatic, but I knew it was there. So what we're going to do now, instead of what I had planned, I am going to go full power. And we're going to go to the right. And we are going to fly and approach into Piarco because I don't quite like this weather. So let's test the IFR capabilities of the mighty Cessna 150. Alright, so let's climb here. Start leaning the mixture just a little bit. Alright, the Piarco VOR. $116.9. Let's switch that. Are there any cabin lights? There are. Let's turn the dome light on. Are there any plane upright here? I wonder. Okay. $15 DME arc. Do we have a DME in this airplane? We do not. I think 3,000 feet is going to be satisfactory. Unless, no, we gotta keep going because we gotta climb to 4,100 feet for the ILS. So, let's see here. And this is what you do if you are so what I mean, if I had found myself in this situation in real life, took off VFR, weather was kind of scuzzy, then all of a sudden I find, guess what, you are not VFR anymore, you are now pretty much IFR. I was, the weather that we were in, I was not quite comfortable with. For VFR, and considering that this is an IFR capable airplane, I am quite happy to call and request an IFR clearance get my IFR clearance and then just go fly an approach somewhere instead of poking around. Scud running essentially VFR. So this is pretty cool in my opinion. So what we're gonna do here is level off at 4,100 feet. Push the nose down here. And we're kind of just above the bulk of these clouds here at 4,100. Get some visual contact through the through the clouds here. Alright, so the localizer is 1097, so let's put that in. Since I don't have a DME, I'm just going to go straight to the localizer because the DME doesn't do me any good because I don't have DME in this airplane. Alright, so we're going to continue here on a heading of about 280. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything in terms of equipment that we have that I could make use of. And I don't believe I am. Alright, so there's the Air Force Base again. Alright, final approach course is 105. Glide slope intercept is Piarco at 1400 feet. Decision altitude is 265 feet. Airport elevation is 60 feet. Missed approach is climbed at 2200 feet on a heading of 105, then right climb turn to 4100 feet, the POS VOR, which we have in the background in the backup frequency, which is good. So we don't have to go hunting for that. So what we're going to do is pretend to get vectors. We are going to pretend to get vectors. And we are about where I want to be. Quick glide slope intercept. A little more menacing looking over there, which is about where we're heading. So alright, the glide slope is 3 degrees at 70 knots, 372 feet a minute. We've got PAPI on the left-hand side of the runway. High intensity approach light system, which is great. And yeah, that should pretty much do it. That should pretty much do it. So, Cessna 4753 X-ray, turn right heading 005, descend and maintain 1400. Right heading 005, descend and maintain 1400. Cessna 4753 X-ray. So what we're going to do, we'll make our turn, put the carb heat on, and we got a heading of 105. So I'm vectoring myself now. Alright, we're about to enter some IMC here. Alright, 1097 we've got dialed in. I'll approach course 105. And it's weird when you're kind of half in the clouds. It can really be disorienting. Because clouds are clouds. They just kind of move about. They don't really always have a particular form or consistency. Alright, turn right to a heading of 075. Maintain 1,400 until established. Cleared ILS, runway 10 at Piarco. Alright, turn right heading 075. Maintain 1,400 until established. Cleared ILS, runway 10 Piarco. Cessna 4753 X-ray. I'm playing both roles now. It is kind of cool knowing. So I got my instrument rating in November of last year. And I have to say, it really is pretty cool knowing that I can actually do this. And see the needles are starting to come in here. And let's turn to start our turn. See, isn't this weird? 2,500. Even in the simulator, it's a little odd. Alright, we're a little bit left of course here. Go heading a 110. Let's get the weather, which I should have done earlier. Weather is 1012. Winds are 2,200 for 1,400. Winds are 160 at 8. So we're getting pushed a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left rather. Alright, so we're probably going to have a little bit of a crab angle. And I'm still on instruments here. I'm going to bring some power out. And because we're about at Piarco, get us down on glide slope here. Okay, there is the outer marker. That's Piarco. So we're about 300 feet high. I'm going to put in a notch of flaps. Those are called approach flaps for a reason. That blue light indicates the outer marker. The outer marker in this case being Piarco. I really need to get down here. I'm way high at this point. So I want to stay at about 110-ish. That on the heading. This thing is porpoising if you haven't noticed. It's going up and down the nose. Which is not really what I want. So heading of about 110 is good. I'm fully on instruments. I'm glancing up now and then to look at the approach lights, but I am fully on instruments. $1,700 RPM, 1 notch flaps. What you can do, a tendency to do in this, I'm going to bring some power in now because we've caught the glide slope. Tendency to do in this particular situation is to start getting kind of half and half, where you're kind of half looking out the window, half looking at your instruments, and that's really not at all a good place to be. So we're going to come back here to the right a little bit, heading about 112. Correct back to the right. On glide slope, which is good. We're drifting further left, so we'll come back here to 115. And that's going to help bring the needles in. Just glanced up at the runway, still fully on instruments. Needles are coming in. Needles are coming in. 1 notch of flaps, mixture rich. Carpet is on. Starting to adjust here because we're on center line. Still on instruments. A little bit of power in. Still on instruments. Minimums continuing. We got a little bit of power. And now I'm visual. Perfectly comfortable. I'm going to bring some power out here. And then pull the nose up to get rid of some of this speed. Got a very long runway, so I'm not really too worried. Sort of worried about the bus. It's actually a decent idea to land sort of long in this situation, just because I know the taxiway is pretty far down there. All right. And let's see here. I'll lean the mixture a little bit. Put the carb heat in. Put the flaps up. These are all things you should not be doing on the runway. Which begs the question, why am I doing them? Piarco traffic, Cessna 4753 X-rays, clear the runway, Piarco. That's not true either. I'm not clear the runway until I get across this dashed line here. So that was kind of cool. I just got to practice in an ILS approach. And you would be right in saying that for a lot of the, I'm gonna taxi over to the south terminal, which is where the GA parking is. But you would be right in saying if you said, hey, you know what, you could see the landing lights a lot of the way down that, and why am I not on the taxiway center line? This is sloppiness. Mixture is lean for taxi. Turn the landing light off, turn the taxi light on. And the reason why you wait until you get off the runway and then you come to a stop and then do all this stuff is so you're not fotzing around with it halfway doing this stuff. That's beautiful Piarco International Airport. This is a payware add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which you get Grenada, Piarco, and the airport in Trinidad, or in Tobago rather. So I highly recommend it. It's like $15, $16. It's worth every penny, in my opinion. This is a cool part of the Caribbean to fly in. But you'd be right in saying that I technically could see the runway, and also could see a lot of, like, I could see the approach light system and stuff for a lot of that descent. But when you're doing an instrument approach, you should do an instrument approach. You shouldn't be, because first of all, in this particular case, like, yes, there is a PAPI light, right? And that should be able to guide me. You know, it will guide me. Could I see it very well? Not really. I couldn't see it very well. Not that I was really looking for it, but at the same time, I have the needle centered, so I know my glide slope. With the PAPIs, I got to worry about my ground speed and, you know, coming up with your descent angle that way, your descent rate that way. Piarco traffic, Cessna 4753 X-ray, crossing runway 10 at taxiway Bravo, or taxiway Alpha to taxiway Bravo, Piarco. And I already had the needle centered on the ILS, so why do something else? Why bother? To me, there's just no reason to. And one thing you can get in trouble with is if you try to be half and half. You should either be flying an instrument approach or not flying an instrument approach. Piarco traffic, Cessna 4753 X-ray is clear of the runway, Piarco. And in this particular case, I was on the approach. I had my needles centered. Visibility is not great. A lot of times when you get clear of the clouds, technically speaking, you're still kind of underneath, and it's kind of scuzzy, and you can't see real well. And there's always a possibility that you're going to wind up losing visual contact with the ground. And if you do that, now you've got to reestablish on instruments and kind of change your mindset from visual back to instrument flight. You know what? To me, it's just not worth it. This is a helicopter landing spot. Okay. Apparently, I don't know where to park if that's not clear yet. And so my philosophy is, if I am on an instrument approach, look at this, perfect. On an instrument approach, I've got the needle centered, I know what the approach is, I'm established, everything's good. There's no reason to do anything other than just complete the instrument approach. Because whether I'm in visual conditions or not, mixture to idle cutoff, throttle is idle. Let's set the parking brake. Let's turn that light off. Let's turn the dome light off. I'm curious about what that light is. Is this like underneath here? Where is it? Oh, wait, no. But it lights up the instrument panel, which is good to know. Parking brake is set. Let's turn the lights off. Let's turn the pitot heat off. Let's turn the mags off. Master and battery switches off. So there's just no reason to give up on the instrument approach. Just fly it. You're all set up. Fly it to the ground. And I haven't done an ILS approach in quite a while. Not manually, anyway. And I'm pretty happy with that. The one thing I wasn't doing that I should be doing is calling out my altitudes. 1,400 for 265, 1,300 for 265, etc. I didn't do that, but other than that, not bad. So, got myself into a situation where the weather was a little bit iffy. Make the call, get on an instrument flight plan, pick up an approach, and pretty happy with that decision making, pretty happy with the outcome. So, hope you guys enjoyed the impromptu ILS approach.